When Israel's legendary and great Prime Minister Menachem Begin passed away in 1991, he shocked many Israelis by choosing not to be buried in Mount Herzl. He did not want to be buried together with Israel's prime ministers and presidents, even though he himself was a prime minister. He chose to be buried in Har HaZeitim, Mount Olives, next to the graves of Moshe Barazani and Meir Feinstein. Both of them were fighters of the underground against the British, and they were killed in 1947. Why did Menachem Begin choose to be buried next to these young two men who were killed at such a young age? Well, Moshe Barazani and Meir Feinstein came from very different backgrounds. Feinstein came from a Jewish family from Brisk. He grew up in the Etz Chaim Talmud Torah in Jerusalem. He studied Torah and later joined the Irgun. He joined the underground fighting against the British. Barazani came from a rabbinic family in Iraq, Baghdad, and he also was caught while trying to blow up the British railroad in order to get the British occupation out of Israel. He was a member of the Lehi, two different kinds of undergrounds. They were brought to prison by the British and they were sentenced to death. The British wanted to show anyone trying to resist their occupation of Israel that the punishment will be severe. The rabbi who usually would visit prisoners was Rabbi Aryeh Levine. He said, I cannot go and visit these two young men before their death. I cannot do a confession with them before their execution. What sin did they ever do? They did nothing wrong. They only wanted to help their people. There was a personal side to this as well, because Rabbi Aryeh Levine knew Meir Feinstein from his days as a student in Eitz Chaim Elementary School, and his heart could not bring him to visit them. So instead, Rabbi Goldman, the rabbi of the Jewish agency, went and visited them. He said the Shema with them, and he promised them that he would go and be there with them at midnight when the British put them to death at the gallows. What Rabbi Goldman did not know is that Barazani and Feinstein had a plan called Tamot Nafshi im Plishtim, may my soul die together with the Philistines. The plan was they had explosives, a grenade smuggled inside an orange to them. They would blow themselves up together with the British commander as they were being brought to the gallows. Barazani and Feinstein could not tell Rabbi Goldman that they're about to do this because they didn't want the details to come out. Nonetheless, they also didn't want the good rabbi to be injured when they blew themselves up at the gallows. And so, just a few hours before they were meant to be executed at midnight, Barazani, a Jew from Baghdad, Feinstein, a Jew from Brisk, put their hearts together, put a grenade in the middle, and an explosion shattered the Russian compound in Jerusalem where they were being held. Menachem Begin, the commander of the Irgun, for years to come, would speak about these two as an example for Jewish unity. An Iraqi, an Ashkenazi, one from the Irgun, one from the Lehi, hearts together, united in the fight against British occupation and for liberty in Israel. No matter what our differences are, we have one heart, Begin used to say, and that's why Begin wanted to be buried next to these two holy martyrs. In this week's Parsha, the Torah says that in order for the Jews to receive the Torah, the Jews had to be united. The Torah says, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, the Jews camped out there, but the Torah says it in singular, Ke'ish echad belev echad. Rashi says this was done like one man and in one heart. Ke'ish echad belev echad, united. The Jewish people had to be united in order to receive the Torah. However, Rabbi Avram Bornstein of Sochotchov, the great rabbi of Sochotchov who lived in Poland in the late 1800s, explains the following. He says, being united is not always a great thing. Look at last week's Parsha. Vayirdof acharav Mitzrayim. When Egypt chases Bnei Israel, it also speaks in singular. And there Rashi says, Belev echad ke'ish echad, in one heart and like one person. What's the difference between saying Belev echad ke'ish echad, which is said with regard to Egypt, one heart like one man, and Bnei Israel standing at Mount Sinai, ke'ish echad, one man, belev echad? What's the difference? The Egyptians are belev echad ke'ish echad, the Jews are ke'ish echad, belev echad. What's the difference? Rabbi Bornstein explains, the Sochotchov Rebbe explains, the difference is when you are like the Egyptians, belev echad ke'ish echad, that means there's nothing that really brings you together. There's nothing that unites you. You are united by a common goal. That is the belev echad. and therefore you are Ke'ish Echad. What was the goal of the Egyptians? Chasing and enslaving the Jews. That brought them together. The second that's gone, there's nothing that brings them together. The Jewish people, however, they are Ke'ish Echad Belev Echad. First and foremost, we, the Jewish people, are one body. No matter what happens, no matter what our differences of opinions are, we are one body. Ke'ish Echad. We then can unite around the Torah, Belev Echad. But first and foremost, we must understand that we are one body. We are Ke'ish Echad, Belev Echad. That is the idea of receiving the Torah. We must always remember we have one heart, but we are also one person. No matter what our differences of our opinions are, the foundation is Ke'ish Echad, one person. Don't let anyone ever tell you that we must focus only on one issue, only on one Jewish community. We must help only Jews who look like us, only Jews who think like us, only Jews who are like us. No. We are one body, Ke'ish Echad. Hopefully after that we get also the Belev Echad. But number one is the Ke'ish Echad. Wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom.